This is week 2, day 3, then later we go Friday, be day 4. Information data assurance, chapter 1 assessment, information systems security. That chapter we talked about domains, security policy framework. Three tenets: confidentiality, who can see what; integrity, can we trust the data, is it accurate, and we need to make the data available. So, talk a little bit about the edges and reviewed core, distribution, access. We get access into the network, we decide how we're going to distribute the information, and then we move it, typically one location to another. I'm not going to go through these. We talk about these in chapter 1. User domain, probably the biggest place we have issues. Here we're talking about the people, user domain, hardening the workstations, up-to-date operating systems, patches, virus software, so forth. The LAN, a lot of times we talk about access to the LAN, the access layer, and controlling that and different things in the LAN. And then this is a big thing, how we connect from our LAN to the WAN. Is that to the internet? Is it to another provider? Is it to remote sites? And so forth. And within the WAN, it makes a difference if you're in the internet or you're using a service provider to move your traffic. How do you manage that? Where are you running your applications? Some applications are very critical. You have to have them working. You even think about a manufacturing line. The apps that allow the manufacturing line to function. You know, if any one spot gives us a problem, you know, and that could stop production the rest down the line. Systems, applications, some are mission critical, you could say. And then, how do we take care of people coming in and out remotely? Have them come in through a VPN. It's probably one of the more popular way, but how do you handle that? And this could be internal users. Typically we're thinking about it, but it could be external users coming in also. This is really important. And this is a good framework to go by. And I'm going to talk about another approach to this here in a little bit, but you have policies. These are specific things people need to follow and do so they understand what they can follow and do. We have standards, you know, some people, here at the college we have a lot of HP computers. When you standardize, it's much easier to manage, maintain, and so forth. Some companies are all Cisco equipment. You might have a number of standards that are then defined in your policy. These are specifically how we want to do stuff. Speaking of how, then we have procedures. Something as simple as how do you change a password? How do you dispose of hard drives? If you ever think about that, that's a big deal. How do you get rid of that? So forth. Procedures that allow you to follow the policies. Guidelines is another one. These are their ways to manage certain things without having a specific policy. So not quite a specific policy, but a guideline. You know, some places they'll say you need to change your password every whatever, but they don't have a policy where you have to change it. That's one thing. There is just a number of good practices people should follow that wouldn't necessarily have to be a rule. You might have, you know, how much time can somebody spend on social media during their workday? You know, some people say none, but some people say no. If you're on your break, you can check your Facebook and so forth. But some good guidelines. You need the framework. Every business, no matter how big or small, they need to have that. Okay. Who, what they can do, and keeping track of what they did. Get that? Identify, you know, get authentication, identify, you know, allow you in to a certain standard of what you can do, and then keep track of it. I'll sometimes talk about people, it'd be like users. We have products like firewalls and virus software and so forth. We have policies that we need to follow, and we teach people procedures to help them follow those policies, to implement the products, and to train the people so they don't make a mistake when it comes to security. Okay, so here's a little bit of a picture of what we have here at campus. So off of our firewall, we have a DMZ, demilitarized zone, in which we have the servers, the work servers, and then we have our internal, our regular network, and we also have servers in here that manage this network. We do not have this, but you can have intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention systems. They both look for intrusions internally. How could somebody get past the firewall? Somebody can accidentally, a person could accidentally give them their password, or give it to them on purpose, whatever. So we can get internal. Could be somebody internally, or however. Once people are in, we can check the traffic and see if there's some anomaly, something different happening. And then we can perform a task, like block the traffic. You know, use an X. You have to be careful, because you don't want to hinder availability unless you're sure there's a problem. A false positive. A positive says, hey, you got a problem, but it's not really a problem, and then you go and block communications or shut something down, and the workflow stops. Right? Yeah. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Here we just talk about the access point in the classroom is actually connected. It's through the main campus. So we have two different routes in which we access the internet. We talked about going through a service provider to connect two locations. I'll keep moving. We looked at, I put up a diagram, I think I have a better one coming up, just a little bit, showing this connection here, internal, out, external. Let me see if the next picture is yeah, that remote user, telecommuter, branch offices. So you have your remote sites, you have your campus, building backbone, campus backbone, then some WAN that makes this connection. And we just show this, there's more than one option to get out, okay, depending on where you're going to, like if you're going out to the internet. Okay, okay, we'll go to the next day. This is Friday. This is still week 2. This is day 4. Concepts, terms, and try to apply the terms. Okay. Chapter 1 topics. I believe we went over the quiz. Chapter 2 topics. We started talking about Internet of Things and looking ahead. Lots of information, nothing really new. We talk about the academic IT, so I give them this green cloud. It's like a network within a network. So I have the bigger cloud is here at NIAC. And let's just highlight some things. We talk about smartphone, access point. You notice that we talk about Ethernet, Wi-Fi, different protocols. Right, another protocol here that could connect us to a tower. You notice this is out of the cloud. So your tablet or phone could be on the Wi-Fi internally, which then goes through Ethernet to get into the network. We did have some access points. We do yet, running in our area. Though we don't, at this point, the students are not allowed on them, or we don't give them access. Okay? We talked about the main issue, people. We talked about workstations. And then we have our LAN. In terms of perception of security of what we have where, I already talked about the DMZ, access server, and so forth. And how we can access. End devices, Internet of Things, intermediate devices. I think this is mostly reviewed. In fact, I think this slide is actually from, it's from the other class, but we used it also in our class. Talk about Tier 1. AT&T, Ma Bell, broke up approximately 84. Internet. Use of the internet developed after that. It had been around already. Alright. Tier 1 to Tier 2 providers. Quantity of data and speed. Bits per second and how many bytes. I think we talked about this with the other class. World Wide Web uses the internet. They're not the same thing. Oh, I talked about modems. What a modem originally was, we had the plain old telephone service in which we had analog waves, frequency modulation, amplitude modulation, and a modem would modulate, demodulate, because in computers we had digital. So you're on or off. Okay, a lot of review there, but let's go over here. Talk about cryptography, encryption, and hashing are the two we are most interested in when it comes to cryptography. We already talked about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Monitor and report. Set a trigger to actually do some service level agreements. You get a service provider that guarantees you from location X to location Y. You can't really get this inside the internet up here, because nobody really can control or guarantee you that that traffic, my ball of traffic, is going to go through there at a certain speed, or guarantee the delivery. I guess would be a good way to put it. Internal network. Got a firewall. DMZ, where we have a company would have their web servers, and then we have the outside. So here's an example. You could have your database, you have your web servers, so it communicates in and out of your internal network, so that this is not sitting out here in the DMZ. Yeah, we make a session. Here we're talking about, I think, TCP, UDP. Port numbers, transport layer. Alright, I think that's more than enough.